Non. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so welcome everybody in this first episode of the C2 podcast. So today we are with Claudie Carron.
Hello.
So I will introduce you briefly for the people that listen to us know who you are. So Claudie, you are from Beaujolais in France. You passed a molecular and cellular master degrees specialized in bioimaging in Lyon. You obtained your PhD here in Toulouse at CBI. You were working on multi-scaled exploration of Saccharomyces cerevisiae nuclear structure, and in particular, the case of ribosomal DNA in nucleoli.
That's a long title, but it is.
In Gadal-Becquet team, forget.
Yes.
You are also a former member of C2PO Association, and you just end your first year of postdoc in Copenhagen.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's go.
Everything is okay. I don't forget any detail.
No.
Everything
is here.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, to start directly, can you explain a bit what was your PhD and what you were doing?
Okay. During my PhD, I was trying to develop some imaging techniques in super resolution microscopy and also correlative microscopy. So it was very more development, I would say, PhD than a big biology subject, even if there were still biology behind. So I was trying to develop palm, paint, and correlative microscopy. I've also worked with Thomas Monja, so on the RIM. So actually, my PhD was in collaboration between the Gadal team, but also the imaging platform. Okay. So I was also co-supervised by Olivier Gadal and Sylvain Cantaloupe, so one in a research team and the other one in the imaging facility. That's the English word for this. So yeah, I would say that my everyday life was around. So what I really enjoyed during my PhD is do things from beginning to end. Mm-hmm. So from constructing the strains of yeast to preparing the samples and then do the imaging and then, and then the analysis and everything. So it was a very, I would say, interdisciplinary thing. So it was something that fit the best what I wanted and what I like.
So that means you obtain super beautiful picture that
yes.
Now you can create poster of these pictures, super nice.
Yeah. A lot of images for sure. But I think I went to this field of imaging at the end of my master degree because I like to see things.
Yeah, that's so nice to look at what you're doing and not just
a blot or something like this. I really, this is something that is there since the beginning of my scientific path, I would say. That I want to see things, and through this journey, you have to develop new things to see smaller or to see in other details or see things two different ways with the correlative microscopy where you see the ultrastructure with the electronic microscopy and some specific labelings with the fluorescence microscopy. So also the combination of things.
Oh, that's so nice. Nice. Okay, so how did you feel during your PhD? Do you find some part more challenging than other? Some that you really enjoy and some that you completely hate to do?
I think, so I was really enjoying doing experiments, like being in the lab, in everyday life to prepare the samples and things like that was really the highlight and what I enjoyed doing. And what was a bit more difficult for me, especially because I was developing an imaging method, was to finish really and to arrive at the point that we say okay, this we analyze it that way and this is what we get out of it. So it was a bit challenging to find how to do this and to not do too much. Sometimes I was doing too much experiment and not sitting enough to take the time to find a way to analyze which criteria we take, what we want on a graph and everything. So this was a bit challenging. And also having two supervisors was a bit difficult because sometimes you want to do a meeting, but you need advices on the biological part or you need advices on the imaging, but together. You really need to have them together. So to have to find a way to have three people in the same room regularly, I would say it was a bit difficult for this. So, and to get the feedbacks on the project was also a bit challenging. But otherwise, fun.
Me too. I have two supervisors, and I completely understand the things of bringing everything together and combining two different parts of a project to create one. And
and being this bound between them, and sometimes you explain something to one and to the other one, and then you're like, no, but together, and also to take decisions together of where we take the project and everything. So it was a bit challenging on that to create the harmony between three and not between the duo that you are normally or in a more classic way as a PhD student, that you only have one supervisor.
And do you feel that you work more on a part on the imaging side than on the biological side, or do you really manage to balance the two of?
No, I think I did a lot on the imaging part. So this was the main thing because I wanted the technology to work. So it was a lot of development. So going a lot on the microscope and then analyze with the facility. So it was more, I did the most on this, and I would say the last 6 months we were like, okay, we need also biological results or things like that to bring. So yes, but no, it was not perfectly balanced, but also because the technology was not working. So
and it's so long to develop something not from scratch, but still you have to
develop it in the lab. That it's not something that for correlative microscopy it was a bit different because a lot of people did a lot of work before. So I would say I was lucky. So there is a bit of luck in correlative microscopy, but it was working. So we had beautiful images that are under publication. I hope the publication will be accepted. It's under review. We will see.
Do you think the writing and defense part was the worst part of your PhD or the best one? Because you say that you really liked to be at the lab. So when you had to write, how did you feel with that?
That's a good question. I would say so we were pushing the experiment very late. So actually at the moment to start writing, I was happy to go writing because I was a bit craving this moment of sitting and going more in the literature I was not really good at doing literature at the same time as experiments. So sometimes in the summer I was taking 1 week to do only literature, only searching, also chatting with some specialists in my team to be to understand a bit more the literature context, but to follow, that's the problem on an interdisciplinary subject, that you need to follow the microscopy field, the technology field, the biological field, and then another technology. So I must say I was a bit drowned in the literature. So I was happy to sit and take this time and be okay, this week would be dedicated to this week to this, and have the time to read, better understand. And it's also very satisfying when you reach the point of everything is making a circle and you're oh, they are citing this article. I know this one. I know this one. I know this one. I know you guys. There were 2 times, I would say, the writing of my manuscript. The first time was very interesting and going in the literature, feeling surrounded by all the knowledge, and then all the correction. I was okay.
And I think you see also perhaps the date that is coming, and you're in the rush, and you have to correct everything.
This is also this, that at some point you're okay, the time is running so fast, and at some point I will have to finish this. I think you finish the manuscript because there is a deadline. Otherwise, you could do that for so long because there is always something a bit new, or also sometimes you have correction from different people. They do not agree. So you also have to, so you correct the first time, they re-correct each other. So you're like,
until find the place where they agree.
They agree, and sometimes not. So you're like, you need to agree, guys. No. Otherwise, it was, I would say, it was different from doing experiments and everything, but I would not say it was the worst. Or maybe I forgot now after a year. I don't know. And also, before starting to really go in the literature, I did all the figures. Mm-hmm. So there were a first time of figures, Illustrator, things like that, to prepare everything for the draft. Then writing, going in the literature, then all the feedbacks, and then the end. So at the end, it's always a rush at the end. I mean, there is a deadline. I would not say that we are super good with deadlines. In academia, in general.
Who is good with deadlines?
I don't know, but so we were trying to finish everything, and then the preparation of it's also then different. So there is the manuscript writing, and then there is a bit of holidays. Then there is the reviews. So I did not have big modification, just like a few paragraphs to add on some little things. So it was not too much. But we wanted to do it before the defense, because after that, if you do not do it directly. But I wish I took more holidays after giving my manuscript, because after that I came back in the lab and I was just zoning. I was like, so it was a bit of this time, and then we prepared the defense after coming back after Christmas. But my defense was on the 19th of January, and I came back.
So soon, just after Christmas.
Yes, so this was a bit. I would say it was a bit short in terms of timing. I would say that even if it's a defense, and I was chatting with other researchers today, and they're like, but you already have your diploma. This is not, it's just a defense, and still you put a lot of pressure on it because there is the jury. It's a bit an impressive thing. I would not say that I was not stressed. No, I was. And also try to do your best. And also what I wanted for the defense, it is to have something more than the manuscript. Maybe another approach, but not do just a novel presentation of the manuscript, to bring something more to it. So it was also a bit of work, like for this, and also to be like very precise, to not use any everyday life in the lab words.
The word you use usually, and you're like, oh no, that's official. I have to stick to the real one and
stick to this. And so it was a bit of work to prepare the defense, to be very precise, and also like precise but short, because 45 to 50 minutes is a short time. It's long.
I will see when I will do it. For the moment, it seems quite long, but
it's not. I mean, in my team, we were doing long lab meetings, so we are already used to a long format. But also, like, it's something you have been working on for 3 years. So actually, when you put everything together, you're like 45 minutes. It's a bit short, actually.
For 3, it's true. You have to go all the things you did during 3 years. So.
Or maybe not. Sometimes you can cut also on things. You can make choices for the defense. If there is like some things you have tried that did not work, you can keep it on the side, but it can also come during the questions. So, and the questions was actually nice to. It was a nice moment for me, because it was scientific conversation. This is really how I went to my defense. Is not an exam. It's a scientific conversation. So I'm going to show. So what was nice is to have the feedback of people that have read all my work and have very specific questions and specific conversation about it. It was not like an exam, or they ask you like, how does it work, mitochondria, or something like this.
They're interested in what you did and want to know more.
And sometimes it pushes you a bit, but the idea is to have a conversation, scientific conversation. And then after that, I was like, maybe this I did not do it right, or here I need to see a bit more how this works and everything. So I was happy about this questions. Actually, at the end of the question, I think it was 2 hours. I was like, oh,
already?
It could have lasted a bit longer. I think I did have a bit more energy for that. So, yeah, it also depends on the people in the jury.
Okay, yeah.
You need to select nice people.
Okay.
People that are kind, like that are still in scientific. Like you need someone that is very accurate in the science. People that are doing good science, because they are more in this conversation mood and not in this exam then it's a nice day. I mean, there is all your family, your friends, everyone is there to celebrate.
Finally, you have the diploma.
Yeah, and also like to celebrate with everyone. It feels like I think it's important that day that the family is there, the friends are there, because you feel very surrounded. And yeah, you need all your people around, and then to celebrate, even if you're a bit after the defense, you're like, what happened? Dizzy, you're like, yeah.
Yeah, it's really, I think perhaps I don't know if you feel that, but that everything during all the 3 years just go down, and now you achieve.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I felt something like this. I felt this or something similar, would say, when I printed my manuscript, and you print it, and then it was so big. And I had a sensation in front of the printer. I was like, what happened? What did I do? And I was sure I just sent one to print, and it felt like 2 were printed. So I was like, is it just one? It was just one. I think this happened at the moment of the printing, which was a bit strange for me. But the day of the defense, I don't even remember. I think I was just happy.
I just forget everything.
After, I was just happy. We had a nice gathering just after, and then we had a very nice party. All my friends were there, my family. So, and yeah, everything felt very aligned. I mean, everything was aligned, like friends from a long time ago, friends of the PhD, the family, and the team was there also. Like
you bring different people from your life and
together, and it works to party. I was like, oh, that's so nice.
Okay. Do you want to add something on the PhD or?
No, I think we already said a lot on that.
Yeah.
If you have other questions, but.
No, after the question I have, it's about the association. Just a recap. We are doing a podcast with the association that is C2PO, and Claudie was in this association. And I think in the first year that it was created, no, the first or second year? It was
second year. So it was created, and the year I was not in the lab before that, because I've been part of it for the 3 years of my PhD. But when I arrived and I knew there were an association I wanted to be part of, so we just, with a group of friends and other people, we just motivated each other to create a bureau, to create a board, and go all together and just continue to make the association live. So but I must say that before that, I was implicated in the association in my master degree. And before that, in my village, there is a lot of association too. So it's something that was always part of my life. So
when I saw, it was natural to see the association and say, oh, I joined.
Just to see that they were one, I was like, oh, nice. I can still have this, engagement in an association, something like this. And so we created the first board. We were a lot in this first board, and then it's always like you need to balance between the PhD. So sometimes some people can do, sometimes people cannot, or there is only 2 people on one project, things like that. So it was after COVID. We need to say that it was after COVID. So some integrations happened on Discord because we were not able to do anything in live. So to recreate something and to make everything restart was
a challenge?
I would not say challenging, because some people were really asking for that.
Okay.
So it's just like we needed to put the machine back on track.
Yeah.
So
that people learn again. Okay, I have to take a time to
do that. There is a bit of social time that can be allowed, or things like that. So yeah, from there, I think the first year, I mean, every year the board was changing a bit, but I was always in it. And we created events. So for the football Cup, Euro Cup, we did betting things.
Okay.
Then Halloween, Christmas. I don't know if we created all these events were already there, but it's something we also wanted. We created the curiosity seminars.
Mm-hmm.
So
can you explain a bit what is the curiosity seminar?
The curiosity seminar, the idea was to have PhD students from other fields or interdisciplinary fields coming to present in the lab, just to first give the mic to some PhD student, because there is some labs that are not very allowed, or they are not. There is some labs that PhD students do not do a lot of presentations,
okay.
But also for us to have also another view of the PhD, like how history or like philosophy or things like that do their PhD, which can be very different. And also there is a lot of scientific events, very biology in the lab. So we did not want it to add more on this very biology thing, even if everything is very interesting. But we wanted to have something a bit
to escape from
no, not to escape, but to have something a bit different. So it was just once a month, because it's always like a bit of work to organize.
Find someone that want to come, that have time to come. It's still in place. We still do that. It's I think an idea that we really want to keep, and it's always nice just to hear something else than biology.
I mean, I've discovered things. I was like, ooh, nice. What is a good thing is to invite people from MT 180. I did that the year, because some of them you go to see the speech and you're like, ooh, actually I would like to know more about this.
Yeah, because 3 minutes is short.
It's short, so it's also the opportunity to connect with these people.
And do you really had a position in the association, or you were a bit like moving and changing of what you were doing?
That's a good question. I do not remember. I think I was treasurer one year, but I don't know. I think the last year I think I had a position in the board the 2 first years, and the last year I was more technical support. Because it's the last year, so you have to write, but at the end, during the writing time, also because I was in front of the computer, I was able to make the posters or things like that. And also sometimes to escape writing. Like, oh no, we'll do the Halloween poster, don't worry guys. But the first 2 years, yes. And the third year, I was like, okay, it's time for you also to let people take over.
For you, what's the level of importance of this association? And do you think it's really important to have an association like that in the lab?
I think to have something like this in the lab is quite important, and I think they were pushing. The direction was super happy, and they were pushing and everything in this direction to have an association, because there is the opportunity to connect a bit everyone, to connect the PhD student. We all know that the PhD it's not an easy path. So to also have students that are together to be able to help each others, just like support each others. So I would say like it's nice, and I think in every lab now there is something like this.
And do you have like what was like your favorite things? What's the favorite thing you did?
I think the Christmas event was for me was fun, because there was the ugly sweaters contest and things like that. But the events with a lot of people was the shared meal also.
Yeah,
The first one was
sharing,
just
nice.
before I left, and it was super nice because people from many other nationalities bought some specialties, and even people from different regions of France prepared their specialties. So this was super nice.
Yeah, and
Quite successful
we
also.
did another one, and yeah,
Ooh.
like I was a bit impressed to see how it was a success and how people, because I think the meal, it's the lunch is the moment where people have a bit time, so they are more open to come and to see us.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think like the last one was really a success. I think we were at least 30 people or
yeah, and then it's something easy. I mean, just everyone bring what they want if they want. And I think for C2PO, we're just providing the drinks and some little things also next to that. So it's easy to organize. People come easily, and it's just like, it's not a scientific thing or anything. It's just like you come, you chat with the other ones, you share a bit of your culture also, and then you go back to work. And maybe we also offer the coffee.
You can come and go back to work when you want. So if you have an experiment, it's easy also to just come and say hello.
Yeah. And we did this in the library of the IBCG, like the old library, which is not a library anymore. But yeah, I think it was something really nice. I really enjoyed it.
Okay. No, I put also a question that was how you managed to accommodate with like the PhD, the association, and your life in general.
Let's start with the PhD and the association. I think sometimes maybe it was very time consuming, and also there is the Gazette also that was taking a lot of time.
So for the one not from CBI, I don't
we
know
write the Gazette.
Yeah, it's a tiny paper where we have 2 pages where we can say a bit what we want, and there is a part where we try to put like some quiz, some like horoscope or.
Are you still doing the horoscope of the lab?
For the moment, the horoscope is still here, and we try to have something a bit more funny than just writing our life.
Yeah, I think also sometimes we were writing before. The summer we were writing how to take holidays or things like that, or so it's something between funny, some important information sometimes, also the doctoral school rehearsal or things like that. So it's just like
a bit of communication about the event, past or following events.
And so so sometimes it was just that because people have different schedules. Sometimes some people do not have the time to do things, so someone else has to do. And at the beginning, we were sometimes a lot, and then you reduce to the most implicated people. So I would say that sometimes it was a bit too much. But I mean, because I was happy to do it, I was always doing it between 2 experiments. But it's something also to be careful to still be like it's an association of the lab, it's for fun, so it should not overlap too much and not take too much time.
Do you have like some anecdotes about the association or the lab?
It's not an anecdote, but it's something that I think was the conclusion of my participation and everything that I've learned during my time here in the association. I would say like you find only what you bring in an association or something like that. So if you want to have something with a lot of energy and investment and everything, you cannot stay on the side and do nothing or hope that things are going to happen just like this. So I would say in an association in general, and especially in the lab where everyone is already very busy, you get what you bring. So
if you want to things happen, you have to do it.
You have to do it
somehow.
But it's also something great with the association is that if you want to do something, you can make it happen. So if you want to create some events, create a podcast or things like that, and you don't know it, but maybe you're going to use this after also. So this is also a chance to experiment new things and next to science or a bit linked to science, but to develop other skills and to see all the organization around. So I would say for people that want to develop those skills that are a bit like not the first skills, like it's not doing Western blots or things like that, but to develop something different and also a bit more social, and also for people that have never been in an association to discover what it is. It's a good opportunity. And yeah.
As I said in the introduction, you just ended the first year of your postdoc in Copenhagen, Denmark. And so can you just describe briefly what was your postdoc and the lab you were?
So I was in Fina Ox lab in Copenhagen, so as a postdoc. So I stayed 1 year there, and I was working also on chromatin organization, cohesin with super resolution microscopy. So yeah, it was basically the project, and yeah.
Okay. And so how did you find the postdoc? And it was difficult to find it, or?
So I would say that it was a bit of luck, because Natalie, who was in my team before, met Fena when she went to Oxford. When Natalie came back, she told me, she's starting her team in Copenhagen, so maybe contact her. And I saw she posted some position in her lab. And then from there, we had a first interview. So the first week of January. Okay. So if you remember, it's the same time I was preparing my defense.
Okay. So everything at the same time.
Everything at the same time. So it was a bit busy, but also exciting. And we had the first interview online. And then she invited me to come for an interview in the lab and to meet people and everything. And then I started my contract the 1st of April.
Okay, so quite soon after your PhD.
Maybe a bit too soon. Too soon. Now I'm like, okay, I would have taken a bigger break. I mean, the opportunity was so good that I could not say no to it. But now, looking at it, I'm like, I should have taken a bit of time off after a PhD, because it's still very intense. So here, but then there were 2 moving, so moving back my things. And then moving there
in another country, so
in another country,
not just take your car and go in another city. And so, how was the life in Denmark, and how was the culture?
So I would say that it's different from France, because it's more of a Nordic, Germanic culture. So I would say Justin people in general are a bit more shy or a bit more in the reserve, but then when you get to know them, it's very friendly, I would say. And in the culture of work, it's a bit different. They do finish kind of early. So at 4:30, everyone is gone, especially in the summer. So you have less light than here in Toulouse. That's a big difference, I must say. The winter was a bit long, because it gets dark very early. The sun is not rising that much. So for the life, it's very nice in the summer, because you do not have heat waves like here. You do not go to 40 degrees.
Oh, that's nice. I don't like when it's too warm.
So yeah, and it's also super nice because you are next to the sea. So you can go actually swim in the sea. Oh, wow. So you're in the city center. There is a lot of canals of the sea. You bike a bit, because you bike in Copenhagen. Everything is flat. You bike flat. So you bike. And yeah, you just go swim in the middle of the city. So it's super nice. And I would say for the scientific part, there is big communities there. So I would say there is a lot of research. The salaries are very good. The conditions are very good. It's very kids friendly also, the country in general. So I would say that it's a nice country to go for a postdoc, even a PhD, because the salary is good. And
so perhaps a bit more balance between the life and the lab life?
Yes, for sure. But because you spent a bit less time in the lab, there is a bit less. In the lab I was, there were less connection between people. I was a bit surprised to not have here in the CBI. I think that there is very friendly environment. Everyone is saying hello. There is it's not perfect, of course, but it's very friendly. I find it here. And there it was a bit different, because the teams are very splitted. Even the building was a bit different levels, but also very separated from each other's. But I think this depends on the lab. I mean, in France, I'm pretty sure you can have other places like this. But otherwise, I think for research, the only thing is like it's a bit isolated from the rest of Europe, so you cannot travel using trains or just to Germany, but after it's a bit difficult. But otherwise, the community is super great. They have access to good technology. There is Novo Nordisk also there, so there is also the opportunity to go in industry. So I think for a postdoc, it was a good country to go. So yeah.
And because you say the salary is a bit better, but the cost life is also
higher.
Expensive? Or?
Yeah, it is expensive. It's higher. It looks like, if you want to compare or have an idea, it's a bit like Switzerland. So the salaries are higher, but the cost of life is higher. But still, you have a quality of life that is a bit higher because you have a better salary, and at the end of the month, you have more.
Okay.
So what you have left is more. There is also pension, so everything is very good there, I would say.
Okay. And so because your postdoc is now, it's a bit short, no? 1 year.
It's very short. It's very short, but because my paper is not published yet to ask for fellowships and to get money to continue, it's a bit difficult.
So do you plan to go back in Denmark or more stay in France or discover another country, another continent?
Not another continent for sure, because first the US regarding the situation, it's going to be a bit difficult.
Yeah, for the research.
Yes, yeah. And I have the will to stay in Europe because I don't want to be too far away from my family. It's another lifestyle to not be able to reach your house easier than here in France. So I would say that maybe closer countries. So we will see in the future. For now, I came back. Yes, I will rest a bit. I came back last week from Denmark, so it's very soon.
Yeah. In fact, you really just finished.
Yeah.
And so, if you continue, do you think you want to stay in the research in the field, or do you think about industry, for example?
Maybe. I think I'm open to any opportunities. The only thing is that I think I don't want to be a PI because I really like being at the bench actually and do things. And especially at the international, in France, you have all the researchers' position in the teams that looks very nice, but you do not have this in other countries. It's really like the PI, postdoc, PhD student, and then internships. But there is not other position. Maybe there is an engineer or a few people like this in teams, but everything is pushing you to PhD, postdoc, and then PI, at least from what I felt of it. Maybe the industry will, I'm just a bit afraid for the industry that I would not like the environment, but we never know.
Do you want to add something on the Denmark or Copenhagen or the postdoc or the lab in general?
No, not that much. I think it was, you had a big overview of my experiment, but join C2PO. Join the events. Because a PhD is not, it's not being alone in the lab anymore. I would say that it's also like a human thing to leave and to be with the other ones that are doing the same path as you. Is the last opportunity to be a student also. You are a bit of a forever student, but it's going to end at some point. So just take the opportunity to enjoy this time, even if it's difficult. We all know there is difficulties, but the other ones can also support you with this. So, and I wish you a good journey on the PhD path.
Okay. So to finish, we can say that, like, if you have one advice to say to, like, for new PhD students,
I would say that it's something that I've been told when I was a PhD student, and I'm not sure I understood, and now I understand, is that a PhD is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So you have to take yourself like slowly and to organize yourself to not get too tired. So there is a lot of holidays. I did not take a lot of holidays during my PhD, and now I'm like, it would not have changed anything. Like 1 week will not change the face of your project. So just to not be pushing all the time and think that pushing all the time will change something.
Nice advice, I think. Okay, so I think we can finish the podcast now.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
No problem. We were so happy to have you as the first episode. So thank you so much to accept the invitation.
Thank you for inviting me. I wish you the best for the rest of the project, and I hope people will like what we did today.
Yeah, I hope too. So, okay, bye-bye everybody, and see you in the next podcast. It was Maurine for the C2 podcast.
Yes!